Hello. I'm FN. Today's video is from the human equivalent of a monkeypox sore, known as Auditing America. He is at a sheriff's office, harassing not just the deputies, but also the civilian employees. How does this frauditard like to harass people? He asks them if they know the Third Amendment. Before I begin my analysis of this video, let me reiterate that I am a retired lawyer, and I no longer give legal advice. However, in this video, I will reflect back on my years in practice, and I may tell you about things I did during those years. With that, let's start the video.
Everything about me is fake.
I need your supervisor. I am asking him for his supervisor. I am asking you for your supervisor.
Sir, there's a cop right here. Sir, there's another cop pulling up. Can we wait?
Step out of the car.
Sir, both of my hands are right here.
Drop the knife now. Drop the knife.
You're gonna go to jail. Step out of the car. Step out of the car. Step out of the car. Stop being like this. Open it.
Open the door, ma'am. You are under arrest for obstruction of justice. Open the door. Thank you. You're under arrest, ma'am. You need to step out of the vehicle.
What did I do
You need to step out of the vehicle immediately, ma'am. You are under arrest. Ma'am, you are under arrest. Step out of the vehicle.
What did I do?
Please, is there anything I can do, sir? Please. Don't do this to my wife here. You don't know what you're doing to my family, man. Please. I'm begging you. I'm literally, where am I going to put my feet? Sir, I'm begging you, please. Please.
My name is Chili DeCastro, and I've been branded a racist. There is a group of people online. Some of them are in BLM. Some of them are in an online cult called The Fold. And what they do is they push communism, BDS, and if you disagree with their political ideology, they brand you a white supremacist.
I didn't break the law. I'm not going to be found guilty of anything. It's a waste of time. You guys want to know who I am? I'll tell you who I am. You want to know what I'm doing here? I'll tell you what I'm doing. Put your hands behind your back now. Put your hands behind your back now. Behind your back.
I know who you are. Oh no, dude. It's just a troll. I don't want to talk to him. Thank you, though.
You're a cop. I bet you no one that works here knows the Third Amendment. Do you know what the Third Amendment is? You work here. What's the Third Amendment?
I don't know.
That's because you guys, this is all a fraud, a fake. No one even knows our rights here. Thank you. Walk of shame.
Let's look very critically at this clip. First, this woman is clearly a civilian employee. Civilians are often employed to perform secretarial, administrative and other non-law enforcement duties. When I talk of administrative duties, these can include payroll, stenography or other duties that require no additional training beyond their specific skill set. This particular employee appears to be going into a store of some kind. Please back the video up and watch it again. There appears to be a mannequin in a t-shirt, store shelves, and other displays of items for sale. I sincerely doubt this employee has been to the police academy for law enforcement training. Additionally, the Third Amendment is a fairly obscure amendment even in law enforcement circles. The Third Amendment prohibits the government from forcing citizens into housing soldiers during times of peace, and only as prescribed by law during times of war. When I was a prosecutor, I routinely had to be sure that every case I tried complied with the Fourth, Fifth, and Sixth Amendments, but I never once had to deal with a case that involved the Third Amendment. In fact, the Third Amendment hasn't been an issue since the Civil War. Now I would like to ask this frauditor a question. To answer my question, he is not allowed to use Google. What does the 25th Amendment say? I personally was born when the 25th Amendment was last utilized. The 25th Amendment proscribes the route the government takes in the event that a president or vice president resigns or becomes unable to serve. In 1973, Vice President Spiro Agnew resigned. In following the terms of the 25th Amendment, which states, "Whenever there is a vacancy in the office of the Vice President, the President shall nominate a Vice President, who shall take office upon confirmation by a majority vote of both houses of Congress." Following those rules, Gerald Ford, then House Republican Conference leader, was nominated by the President, and confirmed by Congress, to replace him as Vice President. In 1974, then President Richard M. Nixon resigned. Again, following the line of succession proscribed by the 25th Amendment, which states, "In case of the removal of the President from office, or of his death or resignation, the Vice President shall become President." Thus Gerald Ford became the first president to ever serve, who was not elected to the office of President or Vice President. If you will allow me to digress and tell you a personal story, I'd like to tell you why I am attracted to this amendment. I was a small boy of about 8 or 9 years old, and I was allowed to go aboard Air Force One and meet then President Gerald Ford. My uncle was director of White House communications at the time. He asked for permission for myself and my parents to come aboard to briefly shake hands and meet the president. As a boy, I was of course more impressed by the plane than I was by meeting the president. And the newspaper article that was written about my visit describes my disappointment because I thought I was going to meet George Washington. I was a kid, so you'll have to cut me some slack about being more impressed by the plane. I'm still not sure why I thought I was going to meet George Washington.
Hey, how are you guys doing today?
We're doing a documentary for my school. I have to ask one officer, what's the role of the Constitution in your day-to-day work?
Well, I'm actually on the way to a meeting, but I would really love to help you.
Sure.
Do you know what's the Third Amendment?
Sergeant Eulalia Colon.
Thank you.
Colon, do you know what the Third Amendment is, real quick, on your way in?
I'm on the way to a meeting, man. Time's flying.
I hear you, but
Right.
can you briefly tell me?
I'm sure you could go on the internet and get that on Google.
Well,
I love this deputy sheriff. She is polite, but she isn't going to fall for their bull. Her retort of, "I think you can probably Google that," is exactly what officers should say. Don't entertain these frauditors' nonsense.
honestly, we're just testing you. You don't know it, right? It's okay.
I'm not answering your question because I'm going to a meeting, but I appreciate you trying.
But if you don't know it, you could just be humble about it.
I'm not going to answer that.
You just be humble,
Go to
man.
Google. Google's an excellent resource.
It's literally your job as a
Yeah,
sergeant to
but
lead by example. Lead by example. Guys, you see, this is the leaders of the sheriff's department.
Yes, this is the leadership. And she is showing exactly how to handle a frauditor. Don't get upset. Don't engage with them. Don't show hostility or aggression. She kept her sense of humor and didn't fall for the shtick. I really like the suggestion that they can find the information on Google. I sincerely appreciate how she handled this encounter.
the leaders of the sheriff's department, the sergeants, all these guys, they want to act all tough, bad, smart. And all it takes is for a regular citizen to walk up and ask them for the Third Amendment. They don't know it.
First, I doubt very many people in the general population know what the Third Amendment says. It hasn't even been considered in about 140 years. But I also don't think these frauditors really understand the First Amendment. The very thing they falsely claim to support and protect. I'm absolutely positive that they don't understand the 11th through the 27th Amendments. I know they would likely be unable to explain the concepts of a limited public forum or time, place, and manner. They are fakes and phonies who don't really understand very much about the First Amendment. What I don't understand is why these guys do it. A criminal record is something that follows you to the end of your life. Thanks to the National Criminal Database, any officer, in any jurisdiction, at any time, can find out a person's criminal record. And a lengthy record can prevent a person from getting to live wherever they want, or even qualify for a mortgage. It can prevent a person from getting certain types of jobs, getting into college, or even a car loan. Honestly, it can prevent a person from getting just about anything you can think of. So these young men are willing to put this long-term record at risk for the very short-term gain of a small income. Legislation to prevent these acts of frauditing are slowly percolating through various state legislatures. This fad of frauditing is going to have a distinct shelf life. My problem with this fad is, in fact, that legislation is even being considered. It is my opinion that there is a very necessary role for citizen journalism in our society. Obviously, the founding fathers could never have imagined that everyone would have a camera in their hands at all times. So, changing technology is bound to have a changing effect on the meaning of the press. The First Amendment protects the freedom of the press. But who qualifies as the press? Darnella Frazier was not an employee of any credentialed news media corporation when she pulled out her cell phone and recorded one of the most consequential stories of 2020. Neither was George Holliday when he used his camcorder to similarly preserve history in 1991. Without these citizen journalists, Rodney King and George Floyd would not be household names today. But Arizona has already passed a law restricting how close a person with a camera can get to police to film them performing their duties. These frauditors are doing unforeseen damage to the First Amendment. The very thing they claim to most care about. More legislation will likely be passed that further restricts the time, place, and manner when filming in public will be allowed. I see the writing on the wall.
Por supuesto, yo tengo la custodia 100%, pero que esperen ayudarme, que yo no puedo hacer nada de eso por
Hi, I'm Mr. Redigan. How may I help you?
Yes, porque yo lo que tengo es por la vida de mi hija, ¿me entiende? Porque la mamá no está bien de la cabeza, señora.
Why is this frauditor zooming in and out? It's making me sick.
This is the police department, ma'am. People have situations.
Don't talk to me. I don't know.
Well, don't ask
Don't
questions.
Talk to me, okay?
Oh, don't talk to me.
You can't really interrupt us.
Don't
I'm
talk
not.
to me.
I get your-
And
you're doing
don't
that.
record me.
You can't interrupt us.
I already did.
Once again, you have a very polite officer. He has acknowledged that he is aware of what the frauditors are doing. But more importantly, he is trying to be of assistance to this young lady. These frauditors are allowed to be rude to officers. They get training on how to deal with citizens who curse at them. But a private citizen is another matter, for me. These frauditors are being incredibly rude to the young woman. She clearly is at the sheriff's office for legitimate business. These asshats are trying to divert the officer's attention onto themselves. I know that it's not common anymore, that people have manners. But I guess I'm from Generation X, and we were raised better.
If you want privacy, you have to create privacy and take it to the back.
Correct.
It's our job to do your job for you, sir.
This
So what's...
This is the title.
Did you report that?
No, I go directly to the
Gracias.
court. And I find
Ok, gracias. Lo que pasa es que llevo 3 meses con esta situación, ¿me entiendes? Y no sabes cómo también, porque lo que pasa es que tengo por la vida de mi hija también, ¿me entiendes? Mira, la niña la han visto en una iglesia también, que tengo la foto aquí, en una dirección también por la calle, aquí por el supermercado, por el presidente. Pero que yo temo por la vida de ella, ¿me entiendes? Porque lo que pasa es que tiene 4 años nomás, pero no está muy bien de la cabeza, ¿me entiendes? Entonces, yo lo que tengo es que puede cometer cualquier locura, ¿me entiendes? Entonces,
Why are these jerks filming citizens while they are trying to conduct their personal business with the sheriff's office? Yeah, these people are in public, but there is no legitimate press interest in these encounters. It's legitimate for the media to cover newsworthy things, but a citizen seeking the assistance of law enforcement is not a newsworthy issue.
Dude, you just look super important and fancy. Like, you look like some of the paparazzi should be chasing.
Nah, man. I'm a captain, but I work at human resources, brother.
Oh, cool.
Okay.
So you're a cop?
Yeah.
What's the Third Amendment? Do you know the Third Amendment? Brief. Yeah, just 2 words. What is it? You want to tell him, brother?
It's that you can't quarter soldiers in your house in times of peace or wartime. Do you know the 5 points of the First Amendment?
Wow.
Yeah, do you know?
So did y'all do an audit or something?
Wow, did this officer spot exactly what trap he was about to fall for? Did you hear him ask if these guys were doing an audit? Training on spotting auditors is clearly starting to work.
What we do is we travel the country and we because this constitutional republic is participatory, and unless we get engaged non-violently, this can't work out. It just turns into every other dictatorship or communism. So we go around and we like to quiz our public servants on their knowledge of the Constitution, because that's what separates us from other countries. Do you know the 5 points of the First Amendment, sir?
Listen, man. Y'all have a good day.
All right, thanks.
Have a good day, man.
He doesn't know. He doesn't know the Constitution. None of them know. He's a captain. You can become a captain if you don't know the First Amendment.
This jackass doesn't know whether the captain knows the First Amendment or not. The captain chose not to engage once he realized that he was dealing with frauditards. But again, did you notice that he was polite and did not allow these turds to cause a confrontation?
You become a captain if you don't know the Third Amendment. If you're tall,
How do you become a captain?
cool.
Like, don't you have to pass different type of exams and stuff to make it up there, or they just hand out these
Sometimes they get
ranks?
promotions.
You know somebody that knows somebody?
Yeah, that's what actually happens a lot. Nepotism happens quite a bit in police circles. It's crazy.
They clock in the morning and they go like this.
They always high five. They always high five.
How come cops high five all the time, sir?
Yeah, we should forget the First Amendment. We should ask why cops high five all the time. We were downtown Orlando, right? We literally have tons of cold cases. Somebody that shot 7 people hasn't been found, right? We got all this messed up stuff going on in Orlando. Cops start harassing a drunk guy and they high five. They solved the crime. No.
Great job.
Great job. This guy was drunk and we yelled at him. So what? They're drunk. You know what they actually used to do? In, I believe it was Los Alamos, New Mexico, when they were testing the atomic bomb and they were preparing for that project. It was a town full of people that were working for that specific reason. And what happened was, sometimes, because it was majority men back in the day, because obviously there was pervasive sexism at that time and only men had the majority of jobs. There were females, but they were the minority. So this small town, which is composed mainly of men, they would go out Friday, Saturday, they would get drunk. But they didn't have a police department. You know what they did instead? They called the fire department, said to hose them down, and they left. That's what you do with drunk people. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? If they're acting belligerent, splash a little water on them and get out of here. Nobody has to go to jail. Nobody has to ruin their life just because drunk people are arguing or upset.
For real. I wonder what time of shift change here. Do you think that's information that we're allowed to know?
Well, we can do public records.
Oh, yeah.
It's almost all police stations are 3 p.m., which is pretty stupid.
3 p.m., right? Sounds like it's about to be 3 o'clock, guys.
I don't know why Fake Mike thinks 3 o'clock is an odd time to get off from work. 7 to 3 is a pretty common first shift in a lot of industries. The only reason I can think of that Fake Mike might find it odd is because he's never actually had a real job. The video actually ends there. They don't film, the shift change. They ended the video there, so I will end here, as well, with this final thought. Frauditors are doing harm to the future ability to film in public. They might not have foreseen these consequences, but they are coming, nonetheless. As always, I sincerely appreciate you watching.
Everything about me is fake.
I'm not open the door. I'm not on. Open the. I'm being kidnapped. I'm being kidnapped. I'm being kidnapped.
Gonna go to jail. Step out of the car. Step out of the car. Step out of the car.
Oh no, it's just a troll. I don't want to talk to him. Thank you though.
Drop the knife now. Drop the knife.
Him for his supervisor. I am asking you for your supervisor. Okay.
Open the door. Open the door, ma'am. You are under arrest for obstruction of justice. Open the door. Thank you. You're under arrest, ma'am. Need to step out of the vehicle.
What did I do?
Need to step out of the vehicle immediately, ma'am. You are under arrest. Ma'am, you are under arrest. Step out of the vehicle.
What did I do?
Both of my hands are right here.